I think seeing the way audiences responded to the first movie really gave us a lot to grab onto in terms of story direction for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And definitely for James, I think, being able to go through it and say, this is what Guardians of the Galaxy is, this is the heart of what the audience loves, and sitting in a screening room with the audience, watching the movie with them over and over and over again really gives you a great feel for the elements that work, for the elements that make the audience say, this is something I love, this is what's making me fall in love with these characters, this is what's making me fall in love with this story. And I think James sort of took that and went away and thought about it for a long time and was talking about story elements over the course of shooting and posting Guardians 1 as well, and went away and came back with what basically is the story for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, almost unchanged. Like there are little alterations here, little changes there, stuff around the edges, stuff always evolves, that's the development process. But very shortly after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 came out, James put a treatment on our desks and said, this is my vision for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I think the secret sauce for Guardians is always, it's incredibly funny, but it arrives at its humor by taking its characters very seriously. And so there's a lot of heart and a lot of emotion that goes along with this humor. And Guardians 2 delivers that in spades. The jokes are all over the place, and the characters don't always take themselves very seriously, but the movie does. And the way that the movie takes them seriously and sort of gives them a real emotional core to draw on is what makes the movie work. The story picks up a few months after the events of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, so Chris, along with Gamora and Rocket and Drax and Groot, are all kind of doing mercenary work around the galaxy, sort of playing on the fame that they gained by saving Xandar, which we saw at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And they're kind of full of themselves now. They're kind of rock stars in their own way because they're so famous, because everyone loves them. And so Chris and Quill are kind of in that zone. They're not exactly the ragtag group of misfits that we saw in movie 1. They're kind of a little more full of themselves now. They've got a little bit more ego. And Quill, of course, is still on the trail of who his father is, which was a big story thread that was left dangling at the end of movie 1, and something that's top of mind somewhat at the beginning of movie 2, and something that Quill and the movie will explore more deeply. Quill's father is an intergalactic adventurer in his own way who's gone to many, many different worlds and many different planets and had his own kind of adventures, not dissimilar to what the Guardians have gone through. And he's been looking for his son for a very, very long time. Yondu, of course, was supposed to deliver Quill to Quill's father and didn't for some reason. We're going to learn the reveal behind that mystery in this movie. I can't imagine a better actor for this part than Kurt Russell. He jumped in with both feet. It's a very complicated mythology that makes up the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Kurt was incredibly excited to learn everything he could about the character and excited to be a part of it. And the other side of what he brings to the character is this really old school movie stardom. He knows exactly what angle the camera's going to take on him. He knows exactly how to take a punch. All of the things that you learned coming up in the movie business as Kurt has for 30, 40, 50 years. Were brought to bear in his role in Guardians of the Galaxy. Mantis is kind of a servant pet of Kurt Russell's character, who has never really experienced life outside of Kurt Russell's planet and his world. So her interactions with the Guardians are in many ways her first interactions with anybody outside of a very small circle. And Drax kind of becomes the world's worst possible mentor for her in terms of learning how to interact socially. There's a fierceness to Zoe and a fierceness at the core of Gamora that I think are very similar, and that Zoe understands, I think, in a really honest way. Gamora's had a tough time. She was brought up by Thanos. She was raised as an assassin. She's trying to make good on the evil that she's done in her life. And I think Zoe has a really fascinating perspective on that, that she's able to bring to the character while making her relatable and likable. Gamora is a huge challenge because, of course, she has all these misdeeds in her past that she's running from, and Zoe's able to make that character almost human and sweet. It's funny because Karen and Nebula could not be more different. Karen is this kind of bubbly, fun, effusive person, and Nebula is this firm, directed, kind of almost evil but not quite bad girl. And seeing the transformation that Karen goes through to become Nebula is fascinating and awesome, because it truly couldn't be more different from who she is as a person. And that she's able to make Nebula so cool and so badass that I think that's kind of the core of what we want Nebula to be. Like, she's this very singularly directed character who could very easily turn cheesy, who Karen is able to bring a real reality to. I think audiences are going to love, first off, many of the things they loved from the first movie: the humor, the action, the scope, the characters, and I think they're going to be surprised by the direction that those things go in. I think the key to keeping these movies fresh is being able to give the audience a new story that nobody expects but still feels totally organic. And I think that's what James has been able to pull off with his script and with this movie overall, is a movie that feels totally unexpected, yet totally in line tonally with what audiences responded to from movie one.
When we hired James Gunn, who initially said, "What are you talking about?" and then drove home and thought about it more and tapped into his love of these kind of movies, his love of little animals, and his love of characters. And, you know, we met again, and he was 100% into it. And he sort of rebroke the script and did a new outline, added a Walkman and some songs, and we knew we had something even more special than we were anticipating. And that the audience responded to that. And the film came out and was the success that it was great, right? Because that really proves the point of, you don't have to have ever read any of these comics. You don't have to even heard of any of these comics. If we deliver the movie, that's all that matters. It takes us to a place where we meet the Guardians only a few months after the events of Guardians 1. They're trying to be a unified group that guards the galaxy, but they also like to get paid, and they also like to settle scores, and we meet them sort of in the midst of that. And we introduce some new villains, and more importantly, we introduce some new heroes. Most importantly, Mantis, who is an amazing new addition to the Guardians. Returning characters Yondu and Nebula play surprising new roles in the film. And just continuing to deepen the relationship between Peter Quill and Gamora, which we'll see more of, and also the further evolution of Rocket, who is not the nicest raccoon around, but who certainly has a begrudging loyalty to his team. And then we meet a new version of our beloved Groot, who is crawled out of the little pot that we saw him dancing in the first film, and now is about yay big, and is our new baby Groot for this film. What James has done with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is something very unique and very special that continues everything that was unique and special about the first film, but really evolves it and takes it to new, unexpected, surprising places. And James says, look, the first film was a creative risk. We all decided together to do something very different. We have to do that again. And that's what he's done. And I can't wait for people to see it.
Hey Marvel fans, are you excited for release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Do you think it's going to be as good as the first one? Well, did you know that until Deadpool was released, the first Guardians was the highest rated Marvel film? And it was the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that was written to be a standalone film. There are almost zero references to other objects or characters from other Marvel movies. Now, despite this, some characters from Guardians will appear in future Marvel movies with characters from the Avengers. Who's your favourite Marvel character? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you want to keep updated on all the latest trailer releases, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to check the notification bell. See you next time.